Today we're diving back into the Unit Files DVD box set. Ironically enough, back when I reviewed The Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I mentioned how back in the day, my dad and I started watching it, but we stopped after the first episode, which is funny because when I started watching this week's one, I suddenly remembered that we did the same thing with the android invasion. It was so bizarre, but when it started playing, my brain immediately reawoke some dead brain cells containing memories of the first episode and nothing else. So, both stories we couldn't get through back in the day. Is that indicative of the serial's quality? Or was I just a dumb teenager? Well, yeah, all teenagers are dumb and I was no exception. This is the android invasion. Oh, I love this show. In this week's review of a 4-part serial from 1975, we find ourselves embroiled in another mystery setup, with the Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith landing in a seemingly abandoned village somewhere in the middle of nowhere out in the UK where things aren't quite right. Well, at least it would be a pretty cool mystery setup if the title of the episode wasn't literally The Android Invasion. Kinda gives it away a bit, doesn't it? The story this time around sees totally not Sontarans build some totally not Autons in order to stealthily invade Earth, starting where else but the UK. Whoa, aliens invading the United Kingdom, that's unheard of in Doctor Who. You guys, I don't know, you don't want to invade America? Australia? Or anything? No, come to think of it, neither would I. If y'all could just nuke those countries from orbit, you'd be doing the rest of us Earthlings a big favour. The Doctor's deductive reasoning is on full display here, thanks to some sharp writing. And while Season 13 hasn't necessarily been a dud so far, this was the first time since Genesis of the Daleks that I could just sit back and enjoy a perfectly decent Doctor Who story. It's good. Very clear, without the usual nitpicks that I can't help but mention. There's even a really, really interesting kind of plot twist early on regarding where they actually are, which I shan't spoil for you here because, well, I recommend giving it a watch. Not sure why Dad and I didn't get past the first episode back in the day. There's a lot of neat ideas here, like a town inhabited completely by somewhat self-aware robots. I mean, androids, that I've seen repeated a lot in modern day sci-fi. I mean, that's like Westworld's whole shtick, isn't it? There's some really great one-liners, which, despite not enjoying the last few serials, Pyramid of Mars and Planet of Evil, is something that's kept up between the Doctor and Sarah pretty much throughout Season 13. I'm still not quite sure about what their relationship dynamic is. She always cries when they do a 4th Doctor death fake-out, and whenever he gets knocked unconscious, which, like I said last week, seems to be a running trend in the Tom Baker era. But I don't really feel there has been a particularly strong Doctor-companion relationship since the 2nd Doctor and Jamie, or Zoe, or Victoria. Basically just the 2nd Doctor. She even says at the end of this serial that she's going to take a taxi home. Like, oh, sweet, thanks Doctor for bringing me back to my own time and space. I'm going to leave now, bye. Until the Doctor offers to take her home in the TARDIS, which is kind of what he's been trying to do for the last couple of serials? I don't know, they've mentioned it a few times. Like, oh, take me home, okay, I'll take you home, but then they go on an adventure and kind of just forget about it. But at the start of the series, in Terror of the Zygons, which took place in Scotland, they were in the right time period, so she could have left then with her. I'm kind of confused about the whole, is she staying, is she going, what's, you know what, forget I said anything. The 4th Doctor and Sarah have still got a bit of travelling together to do. I know I kind of just jumped right to the ending there, but despite how good the story itself is, they do rush the resolution a bit. They wrap it up very quickly. As soon as one bad guy goes down, it practically ends. But is the threat even really dealt with? Much like the Sontarans from last season, was that really the only invasion attempts? And what about the other bad guys? And what about the rest of the androids? And what, no farewell to Harry and Sergeant Benton? Oh, yeah. I should probably mention that. Remember how I gave a big farewell to Harry Sullivan and more embarrassingly, to Sergeant Benton at the end of Terror of the Zygons. Well, I fully believed that that was both of their final appearances. To be fair, Wikipedia did say that that was Harry's final regular appearance on the show, but come on, he's in 95% of this serial. That's just mean. Benton, on the other hand, I have no idea how I mucked that up so badly. He's just fully featured in the Android Invasion. So my whole big farewell and subsequent wartime spin-off review was premature. I'm an egg. There's no other way of looking at it. What else can I say to distract you from my foolishness? Here's a clip of the Fourth Doctor yeeting out a window. Also, the villains from this story, I think they're called the Kraals, seem to resemble those hideous monstrosities from the first Spy Kids movie. Yeah, you're welcome for those nightmares. Why did they make a fifth movie? Oh man, I'm too embarrassed to go on. Seriously, I barely took any notes on the second half of this story because while it was on the telly, I was just looking through on my notes and checking the Doctor Who wiki to see how did I get the Benton information so horribly wrong. But that's it. That's the review. Keeping it short this week. The Android Invasion was fun. It's a bit slow to start with, and maybe that's why we didn't get through it back in the day, but you get plenty of enjoyable content and a nice compact runtime. So I think it's about time I return the DVD box set to my dad. Thank you for watching. I can't believe I goofed up so badly. Seriously, I'm so embarrassed, but the wartime review's out there now, there's no taking that back, and anyway, we got next week to look forward to, The Brain of Morbius, and yes, you'd be crazy if you think I'm not going to be making the obvious jokes about that one. Take care and see you then.